All right, welcome everyone. This is episode 23 of DPF on Tap. Maybe our final one of the year, unless something major happens in the next few days. So 2023 was a great year for DPF, great year for the Phillies. I wanted to say something about each of our co-hosts to kind of start it off. John, you were like the new dude that came on, and where did you fit in? How did you fit in? Where are you going to fit in? But you've done a great job. It's been great, having you on. I appreciate you. Your sense of humor kind of fits with ours. Our text messages are just been a lot of fun, even though you text a little early for me, and maybe a little bit late, and a little bit a lot. But it's the passion. Mike, we've been through wars, man, and this is just as like, at the college bars, right? That's not even like on the fields. I'm so glad that you're able to come back from Massachusetts, be close, be at the garage, and, join the crew. Fit right in. I kind of, knew that was going to happen, and it did. So great job. Glad to have you. Chris, like, what can I say, man? Chris, it's like 6-8 years that we've been doing this. We've known each other, almost our entire lives, if not our entire lives. We started this thing in 2010, and it's like going to be 14 years now. I'm like so proud of like the community we've built, because it's a lot of like-minded individuals that love baseball, love having fun, love having a drink now and then. And I think we've kind of curated this community together originally to what it is now. So I'm so proud to be a partner with you. You're the true meaning of a partner. I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for everything you do. So
yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I mean, I know we've talked about this before when you first asked me to, become a poster and become an admin on the page, because I was a fan of the page and would comment, a lot on a lot of the posts. And I kind of said, oh, I don't know how much I'm going to be involved. Like, I don't know about this, posting and everything. But I'll tell you, the first time you put something out there and you get a reaction from people, it was kind of addicting. And I wanted to be a bigger part of it and really see this page grow and what we're doing, the fun we were having. Because I really think, you see 40-something thousand followers on Facebook, 6,000 followers on Twitter, 3,500 on Instagram, whatever it is now. We really do have, we've got a kind of our foot in the door with the Phillies social media, so to speak, and people come to see what we're saying about things. And it's pretty amazing what we've built, and the team that you've put together here is fantastic. These guys, Mike and John joining this year, it's been great. I mean, this is, and starting the podcast last year, this is like awesome, getting together, once a week or every other week in the off season, just to bullshit about the Phillies. It's been great. And I appreciate you inviting me and allowing me to have an equal voice in what we're doing on the page and helping it grow. So I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. 2024 is going to be even better, guys. I know it. It's kind of like we're trending that way. People that are listening to this, I didn't realize this. We have these metrics, like how many people we reach. We're reaching like in between 5 and 8 million, like a month, on the page. And that just blows my mind. It's just crazy. Awesome. And I think it's a testament to us not fighting back with other people, not doing religion and politics and all that stuff. And it's also like our benevolent behavior, right? We're charitable. When we do something, it's always for something, or it often is for something. And other places aren't doing that. And I think that's what sets us apart. So good work, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been great.
Just real quick, appreciate you guys inviting me in, and I love to talk to folks about the name, right? Drunk Phils fans. It's very polarizing. Oh, some people are like, yeah, Drunk Phils fans. All right. And they cheers you, right? And some people, they're like, well, why do you call yourselves that? And I thought Chris said this one time, and I tell everybody this when, I get any static. It's, dude, we're intoxicated on the Phillies, guys. Like, we love it. Like, Chris is not kidding. John will text us at 5:30 in the morning, and he'll be already at work, and he'll be thinking about the Phils, and he'll text us at midnight, the same night, thinking about the Phils still. And I eat it up, dude. So
yeah,
um,
or the
I was
Adelaide
jazzed.
Giants. You know?
Or the
It
Adelaide
could be the
Giants.
Adelaide Giants in Australia.
Right,
It's next day to
right.
John.
Right, they're playing
Well,
tomorrow,
hey.
by the way, right now. So,
Hey,
but
it's
yeah,
1:30
it's like,
a.m. on Saturday. Any of you guys watching this? I'll give you the link.
I just
I'm
love.
bored. I'm sorry.
Like you said, I love the passion, and I love the
Uh,
the drunk Phil's fans that come up to you in the parking lot at Luke Combs with just wearing short overalls and just want to take your picture with us because you got a shirt on. It's so cool, dude.
It's
Guys, so
overwhelming.
love it. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. And real quick, I won't take too much time. I appreciate Chris inviting me to be a part of the podcast and the page. And it's made my year pretty much. It's been awesome every week, just bullshitting baseball. Sometimes I gotta work on that. I do forget what time it is. I'm like, oh yeah, everybody's not up as early for work as me. My bad. And then I'm sitting here watching a Sixers game and it ends and it's like I'm watching like Sports Center and it's like 11 o'clock. Oh yeah, this is what I just thought about the Phils. I'm like, oh, they're probably sleeping. I'm an idiot. So I'll get better at that. But yeah, it's just
No,
it's,
you be you, John.
You be you,
it's
exactly.
great.
Yeah, be
It's
you,
great.
man.
I love the group chat. Just even when we're not talking about like our next episode, we're just like, oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And like, I just love talking baseball, and it's just like awesome to be a part of this group and with a few guys that just love talking ball. I appreciate the invite from Chris, as I said, and I'm very grateful. And next year is going to be even better.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Dugan, I think you're up, my friend. You want to kick us off tonight?
Yeah. So the first segment, and it's been one that we've had on the back burner a couple times here because we ran out. But it basically goes back to what we were saying about loving baseball. And loving baseball means loving baseball players and not necessarily ones that just play for the Phillies. So I wanted to highlight 3 players that I always enjoyed watching playing. I wish I would have got to see them more. They spent most of their careers out on the West Coast, so it was kind of more highlights that you saw them than actual games. And I don't think there's any surprise that they're all former players because I'm not a big fan of the way the game is played today. So I like kind of the older school ball players, old school hitters. So I just want to highlight a couple of mine. I hope that you guys have a couple of guys that you have in mind and anybody that wants to drop in their favorite non-Philly in the chat. We'd love to see who you also enjoyed watching play. So my first guy, I'm just going to throw his stats out there real quick. He was a 15-time All-Star. He won 8 batting titles, 5 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers, and had 3,141 career hits. In his 20-year career, he only struck out 434 times, which is basically a month for Kyle Schwarber. So he's definitely a contact hitter, a 338 career hitter. And not only one of the things that caught me by surprise when I was looking at his stats is he had 319 stolen bases. Because you don't picture Tony Gwynn as a guy that's going to steal bases. But the guy was an athlete, and he wasn't a big home run hitter. He only hit 135 career home runs, and his top home run year was 17. But I think he was the type of hitter that if he wanted to be a home run hitter, he could have been a home run hitter. But he wanted to be a contact hitter and put the ball in play, and that's what he did for his entire career. I mean, 338, he had a couple years where he was 370, 394. I mean, just a fantastic hitter, always looking to hit the ball the other way, would turn on it if the pitcher made a mistake. Just a guy I enjoyed watching because I kind of, not that I was a Tony Gwynn type hitter, but I had his style, kind of an inside-out swing, looked for the ball middle away, tried to drive the ball to right and right center. That was kind of my sweet spot. And if the pitcher made a mistake away, that's where I would drive the ball into the right center field gap. So he was a guy that I always enjoyed watching play, and appreciate his bat skills as being a contact hitter.
Chris, what number was he? I'm trying. It's
19.
part of like what I want to tell. Okay,
yeah.
So like Phillies do a great job when like people pass away and do honor. Like they put the San Diego at Jack Murphy, or I don't know Petco it was. They put the number 19 in between third base and shortstop.
Yeah,
like where he hit
90%
of his hits, and I thought that was cool.
That's very cool. Yeah.
one quick stat, Chris, or Dugan, that I heard along the way, and it has to do with Schwarber. I think he had 161 strikeouts and this year, and Tony Gwynn had like 162 strikeouts in the 80s.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The other thing, I don't have the exact stat, but they had his numbers against like Maddox and Smoltz and the top pitchers of his time, and he was like a 340 hitter against those guys. Like he just hit everybody. It wasn't, he didn't feast on the bad pitching. He hit everybody, and it was just because of his approach. He waited, let the ball get deep, and he'd hit that ball through the left, the shortstop hole for a base hit all day. Let's move on. The second guy was more of an all-around player, just a superstar. Probably the prettiest swing I've ever seen in baseball. 13-time All-Star, 10 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers, led the AL in home runs 4 times, and had about 2,800 career hits. And it's the kid, Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, I don't know, if injuries didn't derail him, he may be the best baseball player to ever play the game. The glove, the bat, the speed, the power, the average. He just did it all. He just did it all. And it's a shame that, he had some years shortened by injury. And, he did hang around for 22 seasons, but not all of them were complete seasons. Some short, 41 games, 83 games. But just probably the best baseball player I ever put my eyes on in all my days of watching. His glove was unbelievable. His bat was unbelievable. You need a home run, he'd hit a home run. You need a big play in center field, he'd make the big play. Just a fantastic baseball player that I loved watching every chance I got.
I'm not a big turn your hat around unless you're a catcher, but if you didn't do that and try to swing left-handed because Griffey did it, everyone did that. I would have to say most of us did. It was you turned it around and just did that beautiful swing. Yeah, he's a great one.
And my last one is a guy, he played 19 seasons in the MLB, 10-time All-Star, 10 Gold Gloves, 3 Silver Sluggers, almost 3,100 hits. This guy didn't come to America and start playing baseball till he was 27 years old. If he would have came here when he was a kid, he probably would have went down. He would have blew Pete Rose's, hits away. Ichiro Suzuki. What a fucking baseball player this guy was. I mean, he was doing it into his 40s. He was 45 years old, his last year. He only played 2 games, but he played at 43. He still hit 255 at 43. The guy was just fantastic. Had a cannon for an arm in the outfield. Could hit, could run. Another guy, that little short stroke, boom, just put the ball in play, Wasn't a big home run hitter. His biggest year was 15. But he could hit, he could run, he's stealing bases, 50-something bases a year. It's just a fantastic all-around ball player. So 3 guys that I really enjoyed watching play baseball and played the game the way I like baseball to be played. And I wish there were more guys like that in today's game. So,
did you see them and you and emulate, you and them? Is that why?
I think that Tony Gwynn,
the bookends, yeah.
I think Tony Gwynn and Ichiro, I was more of a contact hitter. I didn't strike out. I was comfortable hitting with 2 strikes because I was confident in my eye, and I knew I had the hands to foul off a tough pitch and wait till I got one that I could handle. So I was never afraid to hit with 2 strikes, which I think is similar to Suzuki and Gwynn. But I just love contact hitters. I love guys that put the ball in play and make things happen on the ball field, and those are 2 of the best all time at doing that. John, you got a couple guys you want to?
Yeah, just to touch up on yours, you took 3 of mine. Ken Griffey Jr. I just think he's the best player of the modern era to me. No, hands down. That's just my opinion. Beautiful swing, like you said. You covered it. And I've always said that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys will disagree or agree. I've always said the hitting torch for pure hitting was passed down by Ted Williams to Tony Gwynn and then to Suzuki. And then we're still searching for that next guy because I haven't seen a pure hitter since Suzuki left. They were all great hitters. But my guys, you touched on a few of mine, but Andrew McCutchen, I know he's going to make the Hall very good, but just a class guy, clubhouse guy, team player, like just I don't know. When he came in the league, he was my favorite player. Like, and he still is. Like, I know he's older now, he's lost a step, but he's still here, so he's still my favorite player. But when he came to the Phillies, my buddy sent me the picture of the tweet, and I'm like, no fucking way. We got Kutch. Let me get a uniform. I want his cleats. I'm gonna get a Kutch headband. Like, what can I do?
We need
Like,
a Uncle Larry picture of
yeah,
on, you know,
I had that as my background for like ever on Facebook. I'm like, Uncle Larry is my dude. Like, everything about Kutch, and I'm glad he's not a Philly no more. And he did that 1 year with the Brewers. I'm glad, like, how many ever 1 year contracts they give him. He said he wants to play like 2 more years. I'm just glad he gets to go back home and do it, like, in the place where he pretty much grew as a player. You know, class guy. Another guy, Randy Johnson, my favorite pitcher ever. The dude was just pure heat. 6 foot. How tall was he? Like 6'9" or some shit.
Yeah,
6'7". Yeah,
I think he
dude
was
a giant.
6'11", 6'10".
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was 6'10".
My man's out there. My man's out there beaning fucking pigeons. You know what I mean? Like, and another guy for two other guys quickly for different reasons. Ricky Henderson, the stolen base machine, dude. You cannot pick him off for anything.
He had the best quotes too about himself. He used to talk about himself in the third person and everything. That was great.
Yeah. He's like the Rock before the Rock. Ricky don't do that. Yeah.
Ricky don't do that. Yeah, watching him and Vince Coleman steal bases back in the day was a treat. And last but not least, Trevor Hoffman was my favorite closer. Dude just brought it every time. It's just a shame he was on a lot of bad Padres teams. What do you got, Chris?
So I think, Chris, John, you may not know this. Mike does. My wife is watching does. I'm ornery and irascible. I didn't know what irascible meant. I had to look it up, but it's like easily angered and focused on something. But that's kind of what I am. And that's why I asked Dugan, like, is that who you liked and why you liked them? So my 3 guys very quickly are, these type of guys, like very focused on the game, but like easily angered and like channeled that anger into being successful. It was Ty Cobb. I'm going to go then with Bob Gibson. I would like Bob Gibson. I read a lot, and even Willie Mays. He's like, someone was going to be like a rookie, and they said, "What do you do?" And he goes, "Just don't dig in." That's the only advice I give you. Don't dig in and swing when he's winding up. But if you dug in on Gibson, he's going to knock you down. I loved that part of the game. And then Ted Williams, like, he's the biggest asshole out there. Like, but an incredible player. Like, he admittedly was, like, spat at the fans, like a lot of the stuff we would hate. But this dude hit 400, and did it a few more times. Fought in 2 wars. Like, to me, Ted Williams is like the absolute man. Then, Chris, one other thing I want to touch on with Griffey. After he retired, he basically said, and I heard this isn't nonsense. If I'm going to get traded to the Yankees or signed by them, I'm quitting baseball. Fucking, he gets elevated. So I
do you know why?
Add Griffey. He does, like, that did it for me. If he would have said the Mets, like, he would have been my number 1.
Do you know why he said that?
No,
because his dad was on the Mets, and his dad was on the Yankees. I mean, and Greg Nettles' son could take ground balls, and he couldn't because Billy
Martin.
Billy Martin, thank you, was wicked racist and wouldn't let him take ground balls. So he said, "I'm never playing for the Yankees."
I read that, man. That's
wow.
terrible.
So you're not going to be surprised, guys. I got 2 pitchers at the top of my list. So Greg Maddux faced 20,421 batters. 644 of those 20,421 batters saw a 3-0 count, but 153 of those were intentional walks. That is like out of this world, guys. He was a Brave, and he played against the Phillies a lot, and I hated him when he was playing against them, but I loved to watch him pitch. And just to kind of sync him up with with your pick on Gwynn. He has a quote here. It says, hold on, guys, I'm old. Sometimes hitters can pick up differences in spin. They can identify pitches if there are different release points. But if a pitcher can change speeds, every hitter is hopeless, limited by human vision, except for that fucking Tony Gwynn. And that's to your point. Like Tony Gwynn hit 350 something against Maddox, and he just couldn't get him out.
Yeah.
My other guy, my second fave, I'll just stop there, is Nolan Ryan. The Ryan Express, you know, this guy was throwing 130, 140 pitches in a complete game. You come back 2 days later, throw 120. Like Chris and I talk about this a lot. Back in the day, we didn't have this pitch count thing. We didn't have this I don't pitch 2 days in a row thing. He just got on the mound and he wanted to win so ferociously that, you know, he did whatever he had to do. He threw at guys. He had a nasty curveball. His fastball, they're saying if it was measured the same now, then would have been 108 or 109 miles an hour at its hardest. Like, that's a guy who could just pick up a team and dominate, you know, every third, fourth, fifth day, whatever he chose to do. So those are a couple of my faves.
I like another Maddox quote, and I don't know if it's directly attributed to him, but he basically says, "I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna throw. It's gonna be an 88-mile-per-hour cutter, and you're not even gonna swing at it." Like,
yep.
Like, and it's true because it looks like it was going to be inside on the left-hander, then whoop right over the plate, you know, on the inside corner. So
I went to a game. It was Schilling against Maddox. I can't remember what year it was. And I think the game was an hour and 45 minutes long. It was a 2-1 Phillies win. There was no pitch clock, none of that bullshit. It was just two guys that went out there, threw strikes, got people out, and the game just, you know, just flew. It was an hour and 45. Me and my dad were sitting there like, we didn't even get enough beer in this game. You know, we didn't have enough drinks. You know, this game's over too quick. Yeah. But that's just the way. Yeah, Maddox was fantastic. I loved watching Maddox pitch. Plus, he got a little on the corners, you know, to help him out a little bit. But
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, he was
17
nasty.
inches became 22.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to comments now. Is that where we're at? Yeah.
I think you're at. Yeah, you could do whatever you want. I think you were going to roll into some 2023 Phillies moments, but
Oh
up to you.
yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, then we'll do some comments. That's cool.
Sure.
So I wanted to kind of talk about like my top 5 moments of the season and whether they were like at the end or at the beginning. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to do top 5. So I'm just going to say the moments to me that were important. And I don't know if it's going to be 5 and they're not in the order. The Harper inside the park home run, and that was August 21st. That smooth kind of slide and just kind of, you know, gave that smirk. August was such a great month for the Phillies overall. Like a couple of my moments, but that one like really stood out. You know, off the wall, it was against Tandick and the Giants, which adds a little bit extra to it. So that was like a moment for me that I just loved. The next one I'll talk about is the Stott Grand Slam against the Marlins, October 4th. We were already up. It was like 2 or 3-0, and that just kind of sealed the deal. But that moment there, I think Stott was awesome. And I want to add his second, like his hitting streak. So not only that Grand Slam, but his hitting streak was like such an awesome moment. He came of age this year, and I'm looking for even bigger and better things. I think he might or should be moved over to shortstop. But we'll save that for another podcast and move Turner over to second. Lorenzen's no-hitter. I was in the garage here, and I was like, you know, sitting in my Archie Bunker or Cliff Cleveland corner, and you started feeling something, and I think it was early, and we're probably all texting, but we're not saying the word because we're all superstitious to an extent, but you know, the no-hitter is like definitely a superstition one. And then like eventually I said to my wife, I said, Renee, like get in here. I says, this is going to be a night. And then Avery, I says, Abe, like come down. Like I want you to be here for this. And that was a really cool moment. It's sad that it was his only moment, but man, what a moment. We're kind of talking about Nolan Ryan before. 7 no-hitters, no Cy Youngs. Roger Clemens, no hitter, 7 Cy Youngs. So, it's interesting. And then Lorenzen got one, and that was a great moment. I love that night. And that was August, so August 10th. A guy that I didn't love and Dugan was talking me into, and I wasn't sure, and I'm like, I don't know about this guy, and I just don't know. But that Pache pinch hit walk-off home run against the Marlins on July 7th, that was a special moment. I was like, all right, this guy's got something to him. He's not just glove. He had the pop and be able to come in and pinch hit, and it was a 9th inning home run. It wasn't the end of the game because it was I think the top of, because they were in Marlins Park, but it was to right center field. It was a great moment. I loved that one. The final one that I'll add was October 21st, the date of the last Phillies win. It was also my wife's birthday, so it was the day where I did grand openings at the garage or soft openings, but that was there everyone was there, or a lot of people there. I was looking back at the picture, there was 30 people there. Phillies won 6-1. It was her birthday. It was just really cool. I kind of built this, so I'd have somewhere to watch the games and somewhere cool. But ultimately, it was to share it with a lot of, my friends and family. And that night was ultra special. It's unfortunate it was the last win, but it put them up 3-2. And that night we were feeling good. Everyone was happy. Go around the horn here and is there ones that I missed or ones that were more special for one reason or another to you guys?
You hit on a bunch of mine, but JT's cycle, I thought that was an amazing moment for the Phils, not just for him to be able to do it, but so that I don't have to say David Bell anymore. You said August was an awesome month. 59 homers in August broke the record for National League and for the franchise. So that was an amazing month. And Harp's 300th homer. I think that was an amazing day. I don't think we won that game, but 300 home runs is a milestone that he, none of us will forget, but him in particular, the way he reacts to this fan base. And then the Braves tailgate with you guys, just to see all the folks that come up and, oh yeah, I've been waiting to talk to you, or hang out and drink beers for an awkward amount of time. And it was just so much fun. I had a blast with you guys. Those are mine.
Yeah, I have a couple that I was there for. I was there for the Lorenzen no-hitter. I was at the game, and that was special to me because I was there with my oldest daughter, who was getting married in a month. So it was kind of our last father-daughter excursion together. We went to that game, and for it to end up being a no-hitter was incredible. I was also there for the Trey Turner standing ovation game where he hit the home run, and that place just absolutely erupted. So that was a great memory. I was going to say, Mike, you grabbed the Harper 300th home run was a big moment. And just the two that I was there were really special. I wish there would have been some more. I was hoping to see a World Series, have a World Series moment, but it wasn't meant to be. All right, John, what do you got?
My main and most endearing moment of this year, and it's not above all the moments you guys said and other moments I'm about to mention, but the rise of this kid right here, baby. Orion.
You're blended.
Orion.
There you go.
Hey, come back. Well, Orion Kirkring, baby. I was at that game where he first came out, and it started to misty rain. I was there with my stepdad and my mom's friend, and it started a little rain. We were up in Hall of Fame Club. They're like, "We're going up. It's starting to rain." I'm like, "Nah, I ain't missing this. Let it rain, baby. Let it rain." Orion's out there, and And Mike had asked me in the group chat. He's like, I don't know who's got happy tears more, you or his dad. I was flipping. Everybody's like, why is this old head like flipping out like over this like rookie? I'm like, you have no clue. I've been pumping this kid up. Like, I've been watching him in a whole year. I was like, this is like a proud moment for me. I'm like, yeah, my guy made it. I was like, but yeah, that was a great moment to be there at that game and watch him just fire that slider and just, it was just filthy nasty. I hate to admit it because I shit on the idea of it earlier in the year, but the ovation worked. I hate it. I hate that it worked. I hate the thought of an ovation for a player that sucked for half the year, but it worked. He broke out and started kicking ass. And I was there. I loved every minute of it. I had to eat crow. I admit when I'm wrong. Like, the dude performed. And I hope he has a way better year this year and just comes out the gates fucking blazing. I love. I'm a big Trey Turner fan. I mean, I was shitting on him. I was putting Jim Salisbury. Remember the quote from Jim Salisbury? Do you hear the booze, Nick? I was putting like Turner in those memes. Like, do you hear the booze, Trey? I was shitting on him a whole year, and then like they gave him the ovation, and he broke out. It was like and it worked. Of course, all the moments you guys touched on too, but that's just a couple to come to mind for me.
Cool, man. Well, Chris, you want to go through some viewer comments and
Cool.
and we'll keep rolling here.
Yeah, I haven't looked at them yet. Like, I haven't looked at all of them, but I'm hoping that we get a lot of fuck the Mets, just because I just need that today, and I don't know why. And
The
I
very
might
first
need
one.
it every day, but
Very
I'm
first
seeing
one.
a few.
I'm going to start off. Max, fuck the Mets. Colin, a new face, also fuck.
Colin's my nephew. That's nephew John.
Kelly, also fuck the Mets.
We're off to a great
Let's
start.
see. Cindy. Yeah, we're off drunk on sports, high on life. I appreciate that, and I think that was us talking about, where the name came from. I don't know what happened here, but I'm going to attribute Jessica that Mike knows her of some sort, because she says "Go Bo Sox." Maybe she has the wrong podcast.
So,
but we appreciate you
so
being on.
shout out, yeah, shout out to Chris Hayes too. He's one of my boys from the Boston area, and he's with a guy we'll talk about later who's from Delco. So,
okay, Mike, fuck the Mets. Love the Phillies in the podcast. Kylie. So Kylie is a friend of the page, a friend of the podcast, and she sees her Dombrowski graphic. Is that behind you, John?
Yeah, I was just messaging with her on Twitter. Full credit due to Kylie from Bell Smashers. That's her graphic. I was just talking to her. I was like, yeah, full credit due. I would never steal credit. I forgot where I got it from. Because like here's the quick little thing. You know how you make a meme, you put your little watermark, like at John Krug, at Kylie, at Chris, whatever. And I totally forgot about it from last season because she's the original one that made the meme. Someone must have cut her name out. I seen it online on Twitter the other night with someone just cropped it out. So I was just telling her, I was like, all credit though. I was like, I knew it from somewhere. One of my favorite people. So shout out to Kylie from Bell Smashers.
And here's a public service announcement: don't gank memes. Just share them. Like know who did them. Like,
just
I know
the
my
original.
man John would not only that, but like if you see something funny, you want to share it.
Yeah.
So like the page gets credit. Chris is kicking ass on memes, and like we see him taken all the time, like their own, and that's why we put the watermark. And they'll even cut that stuff out. So use our assholes for doing that.
Yeah, gankers suck. Like I've made ones that put John Kruk 215, and they'll just crop me out, and I'll see it on Twitter. I'm like, that's mine. What the fuck?
Yep. So Tom says, if anyone forgets Gwynn's stats, Kruk will remind us throughout the year, and that's true.
That's fact.
That's awesome.
I love it every time too.
So Chris, Mike's boy, how about the BC win today? Wasabi Bowl at Fenway. I have no idea what this is, but I'm interested. I love wasabi.
Southern Methodist University versus BC today. BC won like 23-14 or something like that, and it was a mess up there, raining at Fenway. Had the green monster in the background and everything. It was pretty cool.
Oh, awesome. Oh boy, I'm gonna skip one, and I don't even know what this says yet, but I know who the name is, and we're gonna see if there's like the P word, the best players of all time. So this is Joe Negler. This is Papa John.
Papa John.
Tough, mean, and kept their mouth shut unless they were intimidating other teams. You guys, hitting over 300 and making peanuts today. I appreciate that, and I agree, and I think that's Papa John. Like, you get all of us. Like, you are one of us, and that's the thing about DPF. Like, it's we like the hard-nosed player because I'm thinking, who hated Tony Gwynn other than opposing pitchers? I didn't hate the guy. Did you hate Griffey? No. You didn't hate him. Like, he didn't really play against us as the Phils. But Ichiro, how do you hate this dude? They're not polarizing in that way. They play the game, the right way. But Papa John, that's great. And I'm just going to get a few more of like people I did not see. Then we have some other segments. They didn't teach or value the skill to develop pure hitters anymore. Timothy Perry, I agree with that. They're like, looking at the home run, launch angle.
Launch angle.
Not putting the ball in play.
Analytics bullshit.
One. Yeah, you're not hearing that one. Paul, all three are left-handed hitters, which I always thought were better contact hitters. I always wondered why, but I guess most pitchers are right-handed, so they have a better chance. And I guess, Chris, yours was Gwynn, Griffey,
and Ichiro.
And yeah.
There's some good right-handed contact hitters, though. I mean, I think Paul Molitor was a really good contact hitter. I think you can find some right-handers, but I do think lefties have
Edgar Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez. And
Miguel
he had power.
Cabrera.
Yeah, Miggy. I think they're good right-handed powers.
Miggy's a good one.
I think lefties do have an advantage, Chris, and I think you're right because of more right-handed pitching, so that ball's breaking in on them more than away.
Yeah. I'm going to move over to John on this, and I'll get rid of the comments. And John's going to talk about Hall of Fame and how his thoughts on it.
Yes. So this the Hall of Fame. I'm pulling back up on my phone. All right, got it. The Hall of Fame ballot came out, and some sports writers are offering their opinions and all. And I just thought it would be a cool idea for, give my picks and see what you guys' opinions were on who your picks were. And I threw it in the group chat, the picture of the ballot. I got 3 picks out of the whole ballot just for this year. I'm not saying some of these guys can't make it another year. There's some juicers in there, and I know that's a touchy subject, but I'm anti-juice. So, I mean, that's why I would never vote for them guys anyway if I had a vote. But these 3 guys stick out to me. Carlos Beltran, 279 batting average career, 435 home runs. I mean, was for 20 years. He has pretty good stats for the years. His cheating didn't come until he was on the trash can beating staff. But that was as a coach, not a player. So Andrew Jones, 254 batting average, 434 home runs. Great outfielder, great speed. And some people are on the fence with this dude. Some people aren't. But Gary Sheffield, I would pick. He's in the 500 home run club, 292 batting average. And I got their RBIs there, but they're all in the freaking thousands. But, I mean, these are the guys out of the ballot that I would pick. And as I was telling Mike before the episode, I didn't pick a Philly. And I have an honorable mention. I have a guy that won't make it, and it pains me. J-Roll, I think, will make it at some point because he has stats comparable to Barry Larkin. And if Barry, I mean, I never really kind of totally agreed with Barry Larkin being in there, but if Larkin's going to be in there, then you got to have the argument for J-Roll. They have comparable stats, career stats. So I think he's going to eventually get in, but I don't think it's like this year. My favorite Philly ever, it pains me to say, is never getting in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall, very good, Chase Utley. Like, he played the game the right way, hard-nosed, like, great player, but it's not enough for me. What do you guys got?
Well, I think we were sharing that clip of Chase Utley, and it's, an interview asked him, said, "Do you really hate the Mets?" And Chase said, "Yeah, I really hate the Mets." Just for that, I got to consider him. Like, I think I would give the vote if I was in the
DPF Hall of Fame
PBWA.
for sure.
Yeah,
The DPF Hall of Fame, yeah, definitely. We do got to start a wall. We got to have a wall of fame.
Yeah, that would be cool. We can put it on the back of the garage door.
I mean, I looked at the list and I like I said, I think the Hall of Fame is turning into the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
Of recent years, and I look for guys when I talk about Hall of Famers. They have to be fantastic on both sides of the ball. You got to be a really good hitter. You got to be a really good defensive player. You got to be a game changer. You got to be a guy that other teams know this guy can affect the game. And when I look at the names that are out there, I see two that I think are definites for me. One is Todd Helton. I thought Todd Helton might be one of the most underrated baseball players to ever play. The guy's a 300 hitter, Gold Glove first baseman, stuck out in Colorado playing on some bad Colorado teams, but he was such a goddamn good baseball player and a fun guy to watch because he could hit, he could field, he did everything right. Another left-handed hitter, that everybody likes so much. I think Andrew Jones is a guy that should be a shoe-in. Such a good defensive out. I hate to say that about a Braves player, but such a good defensive outfielder. Hit with power, speed. He had everything. I mean, those are the two guys when I look at this year's ballot that make it. But I really think Jimmy Rollins is also a Hall of Fame player. As good as the Phillies were in that run, Jimmy Rollins was the straw that stirred the drink. The Phillies went as J-Roll went, and I think he's underrated as a defensive player. I remember when they had that Team USA and Derek Jeter was starting at shortstop, and I would take Jimmy Rollins every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Derek Jeter as a baseball player. I think Derek Jeter is a very good baseball player, but I think he got more hype because he played for the New York Yankees. I think if you put J-Roll as a Yankee, he's 10 times the player that Derek Jeter was. J-Roll is fantastic. I love Chase Utley. I think injuries keep him out of the Hall of Fame. I think he's a little short as far as the numbers. But I think, looking at it, I think Helton and Andrew Jones are the only two. And I like Gary Sheffield too, but I think he's a little one-dimensional. And I like my Hall of Famers to be two-dimensional. That's just my bias. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, I threw Pettit in there for a reason that you said, like, you could count on him. Every time I saw him pitch, he was competitive and he won a lot. And so that kind of checks off your box of, being, impactful, I guess. I love the J-Roll and Utley combination. Just think about what those guys did individually and then together in that double play combo. I like Vizquel a lot. Maybe I'm a shortstop guy. I'm not sure. So those are my four: Pettit, J-Roll, Utley, and Vizquel. And I will tell you the two, Andrew Jones and David Wright that are on here. I think if they would have stayed healthy, they would have had a better shot. Both of those careers were cut short from injury. So kick it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, great points, guys. Like, here's the one thing that I would love, and I'm going to say, like, who my picks are, but, like, I think that because we don't have a vote, but I think we as BBWAA needs to get away from war. stop with the WAR number.
Yes.
I think there has to be some minimum amount of time in the major leagues that they need to, like, you need to look at their 12 best years or 10 best years against whoever they played against. And I don't care if they played 15 or 20, that's fine. But if you played that long, I think there's a 10 or 12 year time where you can say against anyone, how were they? I think that there's something to, like, oh, it's a second baseman and they're not going to be like a home run hitter. And Chase had these many home runs. But I think so dependent on WAR. When you're watching a game or listening to a game, it never comes up. They're not like, here comes, Bryce Harper, his WAR so far this year is .05. It doesn't happen. It's not a real number. It's a made up number. And I get it, it's a number that's based on real numbers, but I don't think that that's the reason why people get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think that they should get in because, they also are being promoted by someone. That being said, Todd Helton's a Hall of Famer. Like, he's a no-doubter to me. It's not even a question. He's 100% in. I'm in on Rollins. I'm out on Utley. I don't think Chase had the longevity over those. If you look at Chase's 10 best, they're not great. He had 5 great years that makes those 10 look average if you'd look at it. But that's where I am, and that's it. Like, I would probably just vote for those two.
Did Helton win a ring?
I don't think so.
I don't.
No, he was
did.
all Rockies.
Is that here's where it gets muddy for me. Is that a consideration? Then in front of the entire world, Utley pulls out the F-bomb. I love that, dude. World fucking champions.
Yep.
Something has to be said for grit and personality. That's just my opinion.
I agree, but
And
in that series that they won, he wasn't the MVP.
Right.
Hamels was the MVP of that World Series. Now Utley had a very good World Series. I don't think that should be a criteria. About winning the World Series as a position player. You're one of 9. And
I don't know. It's just like a layer, right? Like, here's all your stats, and here's this, and here.
Nobody loves Chase Utley more than I do, and if I was starting a baseball team, I'd want 9 Chase Utleys on my team.
Yes.
But I agree with Chris. I just don't think. I think that knee injury really cheapened his career. Like, those 5 years, you stop right there, he might have been the best second baseman in baseball, in the history of baseball. But when you extend it to 10, it gets degraded a little bit.
That's
why it's
great to discuss it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The year he got hurt
from being the greatest ever, right? Like Mike Trout, he might be the greatest, but without the rings, it's not happening. In basketball, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's like, is LeBron the greatest ever? Is Wilt the greatest ever? Or is Jordan? And what does it come down to? They're not like, oh, he scored 31.2, 31.6. It's like, oh, this dude had 6 rings, this dude had 4 rings, and this dude had 2. That's what it comes down to me.
Right.
But it doesn't mean like they're not Hall of Fame worthy. I don't think it's going to help them get in because they had rings, but maybe I'm wrong.
Right. And that one year, that year that he did get hurt, Utley, he was in MVP consideration. Like, he was that good that year. And then that just derailed all that. And like I said, like, when I was making my picks, like, he's my favorite Philly ever just because of how hard he played and how he played the game. And just, like, all around. Like, I know he doesn't have the best stats of every all-time Phillies, but he's just my favorite guy. And Pat's a bad barrel, but he's not making Hall of Fame. And one quick point, I think, like, I've only been to the Hall of Fame once when Whitey and Schmitty got inducted. My stepdad's side of the family, we got a bus trip and went up there. I need to get back again very soon and very often before I hit my 60s, because Generation X, Y, Z or whatever, they're going to induct these juicers and I'm never going to go back.
Mike, would you did you know Vizquel had a lot of off the field problems?
Probably not. No.
Okay. I was curious about that because that's why he would be a no for me, but I don't know, is the Hall of Fame is it who you are on the field
Between
or
the
is it
lines.
who yeah, and he deserves it for that,
So,
but he was a problem and it's
I think there
one
is
of
a
those things
character. There is a character
you
part
yeah.
of that.
so
You know.
I read that there is character part of that. So then
Yeah.
that for me, then A-Rod is gone, right? I'd never vote for that dude if there's a character piece. So then that brings back.
A-Rod was the guy for me when I found out he was using steroids that really pissed me off because I was just hoping that there was somebody that was that good at baseball. You know, like
Right.
he was so goddamn good. And I went, my God, I like watching this guy play baseball. Somebody this good. And then to find out that he was a juicer just totally fucking pissed me off.
Yeah.
Worse
Duke
than anybody else, you know?
Yeah, I felt the same way about him. And you know what? I have a guilty pleasure. Like I actually like watching him on the pregame shit and when he talks baseball. He's
I
very
can't stand
knowledgeable.
it. I can't stand it.
No.
He's
I don't
First of
know.
all, he's
I don't
orange.
know why.
Him and
I
He's
Tan
know.
Ruben
hang out
Amaro on
together.
steroids.
Oh,
I
it's so
know.
bad.
I know. I hear it all the time, but there's certain times where he talks baseball and I'm like, oh, all right, I'll listen a little bit.
All right, John is off the rails. Let's go to Chris.
So one of the things that I love about baseball is, that it doesn't need to be visual. You have it, you can understand it in your head and it can be just described beautifully via the radio. So these guys or anyone who's listening who's been at the garage, I turn off the TV sounds. It's not synced, it's not beautifully synced, but I love the radio. I think there's a certain nostalgia to it. I think that it's I can go in the car and I can kind of hear it. And it's there's subtle things that I don't think that maybe you like understand unless you think about it in the way I do and obsess about it. But on TV, they don't need to say, here's Harper. He's going to grab his gloves twice. He has his socks high. He's wearing, the Fanatic shoes. And here he is peering in at at the pitcher. You're getting that on the radio because visually on TV, you're hearing that. Now, there is a component to it that's I just like our radio guys better. I just do. I think Fransky and LA are what I miss in Harry and Whitey that we're not going to get. I think there's a certain funness to Kruk. I think T-Mac's a really great guy. I think Amara's terrible. I don't like the way he calls it. It's interesting when I was kind of talking about Chris Wheeler and my issue with him is that I feel like Amaro's the same type of guy. And maybe I'm like this a little bit. So if my wife's watching, she's going to be like, yeah, hey, Ruben, what time is it? And he goes and tells you how to make a watch or how a watch works. And I don't think you get that on the radio. I think you're kind of getting they know they have to describe it. And when we started the podcast, we're on video now, but it's tough to say oh yeah, guys, look over there, look behind me. It's not behind you when they're on the radio. You have to be descriptive in a beautiful way that I don't think is ever going to happen on TV because they don't need to. We have 4K, we have high definition, and LA and Fransky bring that to you through audio. I don't think and I don't think that's ever going to change for me. I remember, I've talked about this before, walking down the street in a neighborhood in Philadelphia, and you heard Harry and Whitey on the radio, or whoever it was on the radio at the time. It might have been Chris Wheeler, but there's a certain beauty to that, a nostalgia to just kind of the radio and baseball. Now, we're lucky in Philadelphia. Merrill Reese is, an icon, right? But I'm not listening to football on the radio, preferably. I'm not doing it. Soccer on the radio, absolutely not. Hockey, if Gene Hart was doing it, yeah. But we're kind of past that. Jim Jackson does a great job, but I think baseball is the sport that I want to listen on the radio the most. And that's just, I don't think that'll ever change. And maybe it's like that part of like before the garage was the garage. I just had like this little old, a little old radio that I would listen to. I didn't have TV or cable out here or apps or none of that stuff. So I love the radio. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I totally agree. Flashback to the 80s, little kid, 5, 6, 7, 8, going on up. In the back in the summer, Port Richmond in the backyard with my grandpa and my Uncle Joe. They're drinking Schmitz. They got Harry and Whitey on the little transistor, crickets going and all, and they're sneaking me little tiny glasses of Schmitz. Shout out to Von C's relatives, by the way, Von C Brewing. But there was nothing like it. And my mom and after dinner, my mom and my grandma would chat and in the kitchen, and we'd be out there and hanging out, and just I had a blast. It was like, I mean, we would obviously watch them on the TV too sometimes, but there was nothing like it. There was nothing like Harry and Whitey. And I agree with you, Chris. LA and Fransky have that camaraderie, and I'm gonna shed a tear when LA finally says, "All right, like I'm not even doing the 40 games no more. Like I'm done." Because like I do not want to hear fucking Kevin Stocker like at all. Like that dude. Like there's just nobody replacing LA.
Yeah. And the other thing, that I wanted to add to that, and your point with like, Stocker isn't good, and he's still the radio, so it's Radio K. Like, I am so fucking sick and tired of like, hey, it's the 5th inning, let's go see what they have at Ashburn Alley. You're not getting that shit on the radio, and LA does not give 2 fucks if the Phillies are playing bad. He is going to tell you how we feel. And I think like how DPF is to you, like that's how LA and Fransky are to me. It's like he's telling it like it is.
And he calls out the umps. He's like, that's bull crap or whatever. I mean, he won't curse obviously, but he's always calling out the umps. He'll call out someone not playing, not running out of base. He's like that. He should have ran that base out. Blah blah blah. But you're not, like exactly what you said. You're not getting that on the TV, and the TV, with me, Tits, and Crook.
Your guys are forgetting Lego Head too.
Yeah. I hate Lego Head. I hate Amaro. I mean, I love Crook, and in some bizarro world, if LA ever hangs it up, I'll take Crook and Fransky in a heartbeat.
Agreed.
I would enjoy that because you don't have to see, this crappy vegan hoagie from such and such and brothers. Like, you know what I mean? They're serving sushi on like donuts now down there. Like, they're always bringing food up. Like exactly like Chris said, that stuff annoys the crap out of me.
And I'm not a fan of Taryn Hatcher. I'm not a fan. I'm going to say it right now. She's the Vanna White of Philly. She's like, oh, look what we have here. It's a sandwich, and you can get it at Ashburn Alley. Or that dude they brought out in the chef suit. I'm like, what?
She doesn't even need to talk, Chris. I'll watch her for 30 seconds. She don't even need to talk. I'll just watch.
She's doing Murph's job, but Murph's got a better job now. But I totally agree.
That's another guy that's okay on the radio is Murph.
Murph never looked.
I do like Murph.
Really good.
And one more thing before I pass it off. I'm sorry. We kind of went along a little bit there, but one more thing is the one true thing I do like is the one episode a year where they all sit in the outfield.
Love that.
Terrible. I hate
that.
I
love it.
I like it.
I hate it.
We're half and half.
Well, yeah, I like it. I like it because it's such a shit show. Let me correct myself.
So who are the two that hate each other like during that? Is it Amaro and Ben Davis want to fight each other?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The radio, Chris, to me, my memories of baseball on the radio and why it means I enjoy it so much is I think about when I was a kid. My dad was a police officer, so we didn't have growing up. He did the best he could, but he had a friend that had a place in Cape May. So we would go down to Cape May every year, and we go down to Avalon Beach. And I can remember just walking along the beach, and you didn't miss a pitch when you walked down the beach because everybody on the beach had the game on. So you could walk the whole length of Avalon Beach and never miss a pitch of the game. And that's what I always think of when I think of listening to baseball on the radios. Being a kid down on Avalon Beach and hearing the radio the whole way down, and everybody, high-fiving and cheering when the Phillies, got a big hit or struck a guy out or whatever. You could hear it all the length of the beach. And now the radio it romanticizes baseball because you have to see it in your mind.
Yes.
You have to see what's going on. And for guys like us that live, breathe, and eat, drink, sleep baseball, you can close your eyes and you can see what Fransky's describing. And he does it in such a way that it paints a picture in your mind of the game. And the radio is just baseball is made for the radio. Baseball is made for it because it's a beautiful game. And if you have a good announcer that can paint that beautiful picture, it really romanticizes baseball for you.
Chris, and we're so sick. Like, I know when you cross the Egg Harbor Township, like that bridge, I know you have to switch to the AM, like Wildwood station, and I know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how sick I am.
Mhm.
I know I get 94 till there, then I know I got to go to AM. I'll listen to Spanish if needs be.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I don't know it, but
Muy bien. I'll wrap this one up real quick. You called it nostalgic, Chris, and that's exactly what the radio is for me. I had this little tiny transistor radio, and my mom would send me to bed when I was little, and I would put that thing on like as low as you could possibly, so she couldn't hear it, but I could. And then she'd bust open the door like in the seventh, eighth inning, whatever. Are you still up in there? I'm like, nope. And then I'd listen to the end of the game. So that's what I loved, listening to, Harry and Whitey. And do you remember Andy Musser? I'm sure you do.
yeah,
Andy
those
Musser
West
was
Coast
good, too.
games.
Scott Graham.
Like, our
Scott Graham.
transistors had those like one wire with that, like it looked like a hearing aid, just the white piece that would go in the one ear, and you'd lay on the pillow that way so no one could see it. And you're like, no, nothing's happening.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I'm still awake listening to the Phils. But hey, let me roll into the O'Dumbass. So today we're going to dedicate the O'Dumbass to this gentleman from Delco called Plato. I heard from my buddy Chris out in Massachusetts that he resembles O'Dumbass. So we'll dedicate today's O'Dumbass to Plato. I was gonna do a whole O'Dumbass, and then my buddy Dugan texts me and he says, Mike, you're never gonna believe this. Today is Odubel Herrera's birthday. So in honor of Odubel Herrera's birthday, I'll tell you a little bit about why the O'Dumbass came about. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 examples, and I'm going to try and do it like someone on the radio. So on July 21st, 2016, picture the Phillies playing the Marlins, and it's the 7th inning. The Marlins catcher hits a ball to center field, and O'Dumbass breaks towards the infield. By the time he realizes his mistake, the ball is over his head already. So, but instead of just running to the ball, O'Dumbass jumps into the air and attempt to spear the ball out of the air, but he misses badly, and the catcher reaches third base. But since he didn't touch the ball, the catcher was awarded a triple, his first of the year, by the way, in almost the end of July. And the Marlins go on to win 9-3. Okay. So that's my first. Think about that. That's 2016, right? So we go, we'll fast forward almost a year ahead as he gets a little bit more experience. This is June 22nd, 2017. In a Phillies 7-6 loss to the Cardinals, O'Dumbass famously now ran through third base coach Juan Samuel's stop sign, almost physically running into Juan Samuel. And he's thrown out at the plate by what was described as 15 feet. which was probably more like 20 to 25 feet. It ended the inning. It ended the threat to win the game. And this is his quote after the game when he's asked about the play. He said, "I would still try to play aggressive, but I would do it differently because it didn't pay off." Well, no shit, Sherlock. And then we're going to fast forward like 5 years, right? He's been playing now 7 years. This is July 7th, 2022. Lest you think the Odamassery would be better over time and with experience, I'll bring you this gem against the Nationals. Phillies are up in the 7th inning. Luis Garcia hits a ball to center field. Odamas goes back to the track and jumps for the ball to his left. The ball lands about 10 feet behind him to his right. 2-run score. Phillies lose again. Odamas never touched it. And so it goes for a 2-run double instead of an error against Aaron Nola that night. So just a few 3 just defensive reasons why I started to call him "Oh Dumbass." Freddie's texted me. Freddie knows I was texting him before I was texting you guys about "Oh Dumbass," and so that's how "Oh Dumbass" came about. And then we started to talk on this podcast, and the "Oh Dumbass" of the week evolved out of it. And so next time I'll get back to a story in the news of some folks that show up as "Oh Dumbass" of the week. But that is basically the origin. Odubel Herrera on his birthday. Happy birthday, "Oh Dumbass," and I appreciate you giving us this segment every week or every other week. So I think we are over to John for Yo-Ya.
John disappeared.
I'm right here.
He's back.
Oh, there he is.
John's hydrating with those Michelob Ultras, so I'm sure he had to use the facilities.
Had to go to the boys' room real fast. I'm back. Yes. After Yamamoto signed with the evil empire, the Dodgers. Excuse me. I'm trying to figure out what Dombrowski's going to do because he's pretty much slow dragging right now. I only heard of re-signing Nola. They did put a bid in on Yamamoto, but I don't blame the Phillies on not going 12 years. 12 years is insanely way too much for a pitcher, especially one from Japan that, I know, I get it. His stats are off the charts and all, but you haven't seen him pitch here yet. 12 years? He's 20. The kid's 25 years old. He'll be 37 when that contract ends. And I appreciate the Dave Dombrowski, throwing a bid in, but I wouldn't have given him more than like 5 or 6. My picks for, I still think we need another pitcher, another starter. Contrary to some people's belief out there. I know they want to re-sign. I know they want to sign Wheeler to an extension. That's their next offseason priority. But in between there, you got to get another starter. And I know I sound like a broken record, and sometimes maybe we do, but you can't go into the season with the same damn rotation. You either do like a 6-man or you figure it out. But my picks, I would like to see us go after Imanaga. Offer him, he's 30 years old. Offer him maybe like a 4-year with a 5th-year club option. He'd be 35 at the end. I'm not worried about his age. He killed it last year for Japan and at WBC, and I've seen his stats. He's pretty damn good. We're trying to win now. I understand we're trying to, sustain winning for the future, but this window's not going to be open forever. Some of these guys are not going to be here in a couple of years, like Schwarber, Castellanos, JT. We're trying to win now. So grab Imanaga. He's 30. He'll be 35 by the time his contract ends if you want to get him. If we don't get him, I'd like to get Montgomery. Snag him, stop the Rangers from re-signing him. I know it's not popular, but, if we don't get either of them, maybe
Hey,
Snell.
John, I saw before we jumped on, I mean, it's John Heyman, so take it for what it's worth. But I
Right.
saw that the Phillies were in on both Montgomery and Snell still, that the Phillies are still
Okay.
talking, which goes against what Dombrowski said about being set with the rotation and Yamamoto
Exactly.
kind of being, the white rabbit that they were chasing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think there's another guy out there that character-wise maybe a little questionable, but Marcus Stroman is a guy that I think, could really fit the Phillies well,
Yeah.
as maybe like a 4. Right now they got his market value at about 15 million. I would take Marcus Stroman over 15 million over fucking Taijuan Walker at 20 million
Yes.
any day of
Exactly.
the week, I mean,
Yep.
I just don't know what you do with Walker at that point, if you're
Right.
going to bring another starter. Because
You
I like
hope
Sanchez. I like Sanchez more than Walker. So
you
Yeah.
hope to maybe move him and eat some money, but I don't know after 1 year. I mean, I don't know how you do that, but I agree. And like that pitcher wise, that's where I'm at right now. Like I don't want to go too far into the rabbit hole into the Giolottos and all that shit because I don't want to do that.
I
But
think it's 3 guys. I think it's
a
I
fielder,
think it's 3 guys. I think it's Snell, Montgomery, or Stroman are my 3 guys that I'd want starter. I think they need a closer. I don't care. Say what you want about Hader. I think I'd go get him. I think I'd go get Hader and
yeah,
kind of that bridge to lids type shit where you got a 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guy. Boom, boom, boom. And Hoffman might be that 7th inning guy. Alvarado your 8th inning guy.
yeah.
Hader your 9th inning guy. Shorten the game for your starters. And then
And
I
there's
still
a
think we
guy.
need another outfielder.
Yeah, and that brings me to my point too about outfielder. There's a guy I wanted this guy at the trade deadline last year, and he wound up. He's not known for his bat, like a killer bat. Like he does enough with the bat. He'll hit for average, but he's a great defensive outfielder, and he had a hell of a year last year. He had 20 something home runs. Michael A. Taylor. Like I would snag him in a heart. I would snag him. He's not going to cost much. I mean, another name was Kiermaier, but Kiermaier went to the Jays, but back to the Jays. But Michael A. Taylor just strikes me as a name that I'd take. And as far as the outfielder, Adam Duvall wouldn't be expensive. He'd be a power bat off the bench, like
I
whatever.
like
but
him for the bench. I definitely like Duvall for the
yeah,
bench.
like that's
Yeah.
2 names that strike me. I know there's another pitcher that
I'm
Mike's
chomping
thinking
at the
of
bit to
too.
talk about.
Yeah.
So if I told you that there was a guy that won 10 games last year, he had 2 complete games. That means he pitched the whole game by himself. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Did Roy Halladay resurrect and we weren't aware? It's just like
possibly.
130.2
innings, 119 hits, gave up 14 homers in 130 in 2/3 innings, 31 walks, 130 strikeouts. He hit 4 dudes. He had 3 wild pitches. He gave up 44 runs, 40 were earned. His ERA was 2.76. Would you want to consider that guy?
Yeah,
because that's what Trevor Bauer did for the Yokohama Bay Stars last year in Japan. I think this guy got railroaded by this girl. Maybe he, screwed up and was on some website and, that's how he got himself in trouble. Okay. But he proved in court that he did nothing wrong. This chick tried to set him up. So to our character piece earlier, maybe it's a little suspect, but it's not like he did anything that was illegal. He's totally exonerated. She actually has to pay him restitution. This guy is out there to go get guys.
I don't want him babysitting my kids. But
you don't have to. He could pitch every 5th game, right?
If he gets a ring, I don't give a shit.
But I'll take him every 5th. I'll take him every 5th day, though.
Yeah,
and
that's my guy. Thank you, John, for setting me up.
No problem. Because we would try to talk about that the last couple of episodes. We never just not got it in. But
we just decided today we're talking for 2 hours. That's all.
He's 32.
Yeah,
he's 32 years old. So at the most, you give him what, like 3 years?
Yeah,
tops, and that's fine. maybe 2 years with a club option just to be
So-
safe.
Back to Michael A. Taylor. who
Oh, sorry.
I like him. No, I'm good. I just have
I was a little
question.
passionate about that one.
No, I love it. I'm in on Bauer. I'm good with
I
I'm in
agree.
on that.
If you sign Michael A. Taylor, that makes Rojas a AAA player, or
Trade
does he become your number 4?
I'd say
Yeah.
number 4.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased because I'm rooting for the guy. Here's my thing about Rojas.
So Michael
Everyone
A. Taylor
loved him.
becomes your everyday center fielder.
Yes,
Martian
of
left
course he does.
And Schwarber
Yes.
DHing.
Yeah, Martian left and Nicky 3 buttons and right.
And Pache to AAA or trade.
Yeah, you trade Pache or something. But my thing
They
on
need to upgrade
Rojas
their
is
bench. The bench needs to be upgraded 100%.
my
I
thing
don't
on
think
Rojas.
Have we
I don't
been
think
Or maybe
spoiled
Pache-
as Phillies
maybe
fans
Pache for the
in
bench.
each off
Who knows?
season? You know, like that's the thing. Have we been spoiled? You
By the
know,
big
each
moves?
off season we're getting Turner, we're getting Harper, we're doing all these kind of cool things. And are we just expecting that
Yes.
to happen every year? Yeah,
Yes.
we are. And
Let's
the
do
other
it.
thing is, like,
After the
when it's
stupid
an
money
off-season-
comment, after the stupid money comment,
Yeah.
you have to expect it.
when it's the off season and you're like, hey, at least we did better than the Cubs, you didn't have a good off season.
Right.
The Cubs have done nothing. They're the only team that has not signed a free agent or made a trade. Like, it's not good enough, and we've went
Yeah,
through
but
this.
here,
Like,
here you go.
Yeah.
Ask yourself this question. The last game that we played against the Diamondbacks, who do you want to pinch hit? Jake Cave or Adam Duvall?
Sorry.
Like
Duvall.
I
Seems
mean, come on.
Duvall in
Like,
a heartbeat.
the
even
bench
against a
needs-
right-hander. Yeah,
The bench needs to be upgraded. The bench.
Yes.
I mean, look at their bench at the end of last year. It was Cave. It was Pache. It was Stubbs. And I don't even know who the freaking fourth guy.
Sosa.
Yeah.
Sosa. Well, I like Sosa. Sosa's.
I like Sosa too.
What was the other
Sosa's
guy?
I love
too?
Sosa.
Sosa's a good piece.
Castro?
I like Sosa.
Yes.
Well, he was
Yeah.
he was
Oh,
left off the
gosh.
playoff roster, but yeah,
Mr.
but, I mean,
Flip Phone.
Stubbs needs to be there as the backup catcher. Sosa needs to be there as the backup infielder. So you really have 2 spots that you can upgrade your bench. Duvall's a major upgrade because he can give you
Yes.
right-handed pop and he can spot start. He played center field for the Braves a couple years ago. He can still
Yeah.
play left field, so you could spot start him in left or center, whatever you need. And then you got one more spot, Maybe it's Jock Peterson with the Fanatic picture. Who the hell knows? But
is Weston Wilson terrible, or is he never going to get a chance? Like, it has to be one or the other, right? Because
I think it was a
this dude,
flash.
like, dropped 30 bombs. Like, well, I don't think it was. Like, I think he's like put up numbers when he's been healthy.
He's
but
hit
think about
396 when I
Phillies
saw him at the
minor
Iron Banks.
leaguers that hit all bombs. I mean, who was the other guy? The other outfield they had that hit like 30-something bombs. Now he's trying to be a tight end in the NFL. Never.
Dylan Cousins.
Dylan Cousins.
Cousins.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Redding is a shoebox. So if you're hitting 30 bombs at Redding, you're not really hitting 30 bombs.
Is that where
he
was though? I thought he was.
Why
Lehigh
Russell
Valley.
Wilson? Yeah, I'm not.
He was
buying
briefly
that.
at Lehigh, I think.
Look at Jake Cave hit 400 at fucking Lehigh Valley. I just don't think it translates. Like, I don't think it translates, and I think you need experienced major league
Duvall's
players
a
that
proven
have a track
entity.
record. Yeah, you need a track record guy.
Proven
One quick
entity.
Yeah.
thing is my thing on Rojas is when he came up, I was glad for him. It was a surprise by me, as I mentioned on that episode when they called him up, and I'm like, I've been following this guy, like covering the minor leagues and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, I did not expect that move. When he came up, he was making great plays. He had a decent bat. In the regular season, he batted 300, but then once the playoffs come and he struggled, everybody shit on him. Like the whole city shit on him. I'm like, this kid was unbelievable in the regular season. There was other players that struggled in the playoffs that they get shit on. Stott, Bohm.
He
and,
was
like, the poor
overmatched, though.
kid.
He was overmatched in the playoffs. It wasn't even.
Oh, I know
he
that,
wasn't-
but I
his
mean,
at-bats
but
weren't
my
even
thing is,
competitive.
he's a kid. Like the dude's like, it's his first
Problem
time
is,
up.
they
Like,
didn't have anybody else to put out there. Like
Right.
there was
Exactly.
no other, there was no
Yeah.
plan
There was
B.
no option. There was no
Yeah,
options.
there was no plan B.
Yeah.
You know, you need a plan B.
But to your point, Dugan, like Michael A. Taylor, starting center fielder, and then Rojas the fourth.
Yeah. All right. I'm good with that. I am good with that. All right, we're going to me then, right? Random Philly sighting. So I just thought this would be a fun segment. I've had a couple of situations in my life where I've ran into Phillies baseball players, sometimes in some odd places, and had some encounters. So I don't know if you guys have had similar experiences or anybody listening have had similar experiences. So I thought I'd share the couple that I've had. One that I had, I mean, maybe it not be odd, but this guy's playing career had been long over. He spent the majority of his career with the Cardinals, and then he came and played the last couple seasons with the Phillies. And I happened to be at a Reading Phillies game with a couple buddies of mine, and we were sitting, and I saw him down in the front. I'm going, I know that guy. I know who that guy is. You don't know who that guy is. I said, I'm telling you, he played for the Phillies. He's a pretty good ball player back in his day. I said, I'm going to go down and I'm going to talk to him. You ain't going to go talk to nobody. I'll bet you a beer you don't go talk to him. Fuck that. I went right down the steps in the middle of the innings, and I said, hey, sir, are you Tom Herr? And he said, yes, I am Tommy Herr. And I said, oh, it was a pleasure to watch you play baseball. I've been a fan of yours. So I met Tommy Herr at a Reading Phillies game.
That's
I
super cool.
I won a couple beers off of my friends because I recognized them. So that was even better, that I won a couple beers. The second one is I was on the boardwalk probably, might be 10 or 12 years ago now. I was on a Wildwoods boardwalk, and my kids were going on a ride at the boardwalk. And I'm seeing this guy with his couple little kids, and I turned to my wife and I said, that guy played for the Phillies. She's like, no, he didn't. I said, I'm telling you, it's alumni weekend. All these old players are in town. That guy played for the Phillies. She goes, well, why don't you go talk to him? So his kids happened to be getting on the same ride that my kids were. So he was up against the fence watching his kids go on the ride. So I walked up to him and I said, hey, man, what was it like to pitch in an all-star game? And he turned to me and he said, you know who I am? And I said, yeah, I know who you are. I said, you're Tyler Green. And he goes, yes, I am Tyler Green. And we talked for about 15 minutes about, his career and what he was doing today. He was like in the finance world now. And he said he was in town for alumni weekend. And I said, oh, well, your kids are on the car in front of my kids. They're all going around the ride. And we talked for about 5 minutes. And
he's tall too, right, Chris?
He's big. He's a big dude. Yeah. He's a big dude. And he talked to me about his elbow injuries and, the setbacks he had in his career and some of his disappointments. But he was a really super nice guy. Got to meet him, his wife, his kids. So that was fun. Just random on the Wildwood boardwalk, on a Saturday afternoon or whatever it was. The third one was 1996. After I graduated college, my girlfriend at the time and I went to Disney World. So we were down in Disney and we went to Pleasure Island to go to the Hard Rock Cafe for dinner. And we're waiting in line in the Hard Rock Cafe, and I'm there. I got a Phillies hat on, and we're standing in line to go in. And coming out, I see a guy and his wife, and I elbow my girlfriend at the time, and I said, that guy pitched for the Phillies. She goes, are you sure? I'm like, I'm telling you right now, that guy pitched for the Phillies. And she's like, well, who is it? And I said, just wait. I want to see if he sees my hat. So as he's walking down, he sees my hat. He gives me a look, and we make eye contact, and I give him a nod, and he looks at me, and I said, I know who you are. He goes, I know you know who I am. And I shook his hand, and it was Tommy Green. Tommy Green and his wife coming out of the Hard Rock Cafe on Pleasure Island in Disney World. We had a brief conversation. I didn't want to make a big deal. I don't like to embarrass these guys when they're out in public. Of course, when people saw me talking to him, like, who's that? Who's this guy talking to? So he got a little bit mobbed as he got down later in the line. But those are my three big, rare, just out of the ordinary Philly encounters that I had, which I thought were pretty cool. You got any, Mike?
That's awesome.
I do. So really quick three. You guys remember Dickie Knowles?
Yeah.
So rolling to Yeah. So me too. So I rolled into the Wooden Bat League in Wilmington. I was pitching against it. I don't remember the team, but Dickie Knowles had just been released weeks prior, and he's pitching in that league. And by the way, his slider is nasty still. I did hit a double off him, but we lost 1-0, and Dickie Knowles hit a home run off me to win 1-0. So I thought that was super cool, and he was great. And to your point, Chris, I'm not a big autograph guy. I like to shake their hand, right? So
Yeah.
after the game, I shook his hand and we talked for like probably 5 or 7 minutes about, some of his experiences and, how I like to watch him play and that kind of thing. And he was super cool about it. Side note, his ex-wife was just on the Golden Bachelor, in case you guys didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Second one, a little bit later on in life. So I'm bouncing at the Bayou in Manayunk. Got a job, making ends meet in college, and enroll in a couple of Phillies, current Phillies at the time, LA and Lieberthal. They roll in together. LA gets Merlot all night long, and he's got a tin of Copenhagen that he just takes the lid and halves it, puts it upper deck. So he's got upper deck Copenhagen, Spitter, Merlot, telling stories to the whole bar all night long. They probably rolled in 9-10 o'clock, and about midnight, Lieberthal catches a cab with a young lady that he did not come with. Let's put it to you that way. And we walked LA to his cab when we closed at 2 a.m. That was cool. That was we heard a lot of different stories that night than you've heard on the radio. And then last one, I was in the Borgata. We were going to Tim McGraw concert, Carrie and I, and we come out of the room, we're going down, and you have to go down to the floor and then around to the venue. And like just a bunch of, like, I'll call an entourage come by, and John Kruk is in the middle. And, I'm like, Crooker! And he turns around and he's like, hey, what's up, man? Are you a fan? I'm like, are you kidding? Blah, blah, blah. Like 2-second conversation, but I got to shake his hand. So those are my 3 encounters with some Phillies.
Oh, cool.
John?
Mine's, I got one with LA. It's not really random, but I just didn't know who was going to be there. My stepsister she's like a executive at banks. Like, she's at a different bank now, but at the time it was like a charity thing, like celebrity bartending. So like John Runyon was there, Kyle Korver, Monica Malpass from Channel 6 that used to be John Clark, and LA was there. LA was a piss. I kept going to him for my beers because as he's serving them, he's fucking drinking them. He's pouring himself a pint. He's going 1 for 1 with you. Like, what do you want a pint of? I'm like, boom. He's like, all right, I got you. And he's like, cheers. And he's like, how you? I was like, pleased to meet you, LA. And the dude, and as the night went on, it just got funnier and funnier because like, even if you weren't talking to him personally, like, I got a good ear. I was hearing just funny stories. Like, oh yeah, we did this and that. It was just a pleasure. And he's such a cool, easy, laid back guy to meet. Like, such a fun guy. Another time, I haven't met too many people. This isn't a Phillies player, but I ran into you guys have seen this picture. I ran into Meat Tits in Pittsburgh a couple years ago, wearing the Black Drunk Phillies fans T-shirt. And this is before I was a part of the page or anything. And I sent it to Chris. I was like, I showed Chris. I said, yo, like, Meat Tits. And I had a bag, and I had an Andrew McCutchen pirate shirt because, I'm a McCutchen fan, and a hat. And he's like, oh, McCutchen, huh? And this is before he was with the Phillies. Actually, it was more than a couple years ago because it was, no, wait. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't McCutchen. It was O'Neill Cruz. I'm sorry. And I had O'Neill Cruz. He's like, oh, O'Neill Cruz. I'm like, yeah, I'm just a fan of the guy, like of the player, not the team. I'm a diehard Phillies fan. He's like, oh, Drunk Phil's fans. That's cool. We took a picture and all. I ran into him. But last not least, this was a Phillies player. He's now one of our hated analysts. And this just happened this summer in Pittsburgh. Before the Sunday game in Pittsburgh, me, my stepdad, and his two buddies walking down the street from breakfast back to our hotel. And here comes, oh, by the way, all DPFers, Yappy the Clown, that's my name for Ruben Amaro. This Pee Wee Herman nerd is in his suit and his backpack at like 9 a.m., all in his phone. And we're like, good morning, Ruben. And he's like, and then he passes us. I was like, thanks, dickhead. So if you're watching, I'm the thanks, dickhead guy. Yeah, Chris.
Mine's a little bit long, but it's our show, so we're gonna say it. So I don't remember the year, but it was 06, 07, 08, Clearwater. Was down there with a group of guys, and we went to a VFW and we're watching the Villanova game. So like this is like early in the morning. I don't know. They played at like 10, I guess. And we're getting ripped up there, just drinking mugs of beer at the VFW, doing the rip-offs, where you like, they're lottery tickets. So
yeah, yep.
One of the guys like won. I don't. It wasn't me, but someone won $500, and we turned it in. We got the $500, and like we sprayed the bar with drinks, and made it cool. But they're basically like, it's for locals. Like, don't do that. And I wanted to say go fuck yourself, like then don't have the machine then, if we're allowed to be in and VFW. We didn't do that. So as time's going on, one of my friends is like, hey, like, what do you think about like going out and get a steak dinner? Like, just a bunch of the dudes getting a steak dinner. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And he's like, it's on me. And I was like, yeah. And I love steak dinners on someone else. So we're going out. We go back to our place, and like I dressed smart. I wasn't dressed up. I didn't bring slacks, like, or did he even call it long pants? I don't know, but I didn't have those. Right? But I had a button-up shirt. But I had a button-up shirt. Yo, my man came in like he was wearing like clam diggers and like a Grateful Dead T-shirt. So I was like, "Fuck, we're going to Jack's. I think it's Jack's Beachcomber, which is like the nicest place in Clearwater." But regardless, he promised that. So we go in, and they're looking us up and down, and like I'm the one doing the talking, and I'm like kind of bagging up at the time. So I'm like, yeah, like table for two, and they're like, is it you and your friend? I says, yeah, just me and my friend. And I saw they were like ready to like not give us a table. So I think I gave some money to the maitre d' and said, listen, we're not here to cause any problems or whatever. Like, we just want a table. I don't care where it is. It's in the corner near the bathroom. So we come in, sit down, and the table next to us is Jason Worth, Chase Utley, and Kyle Kendrick. And my friend is like super like pumped up. He's like, oh my God, it's the Phillies next to us. And I was like, just chill. Like maybe after they're eating or we're done eating, like we'll send a drink over or we'll say hi, but don't do it now. Like they're like, doing their thing. Well, I either went to the bathroom and he's over there like, oh my God, like I love you guys. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. I eventually came over and says, hey, my friend's a little bit older, and like he's a huge Phillies fan, but like we want to let you guys eat. And he's like, nah, I appreciate that. So my friend says to Jason Worth, hey, we saw your game yesterday and you went 0 for 2. So Worth is like, like it's not a big deal. It's just spring training. I went 0 for 2, no big deal. So like I'm really banged up, and I'm like, it's not a big deal. I was like, we paid money to see you. I was like, you went 0 for 2. I says, it doesn't mean anything to you? I says, it means a lot to me. And then I pointed to Kyle Kendrick. I was like, this dude's trying to make the team. You don't think it means a lot to him, that game yesterday? And like Worth like stood up, and like he's fucking huge. Like he is huge. Like I'm tall. He is fucking huge. And he's like, yo, buddy, you're like pretty juiced up. Like maybe just like sit down. And I was like, yeah, maybe I will sit down. And So we eventually sit down, and like this is like a fucking like Goodfellas moment. I was like, man, I feel like an asshole. Like I got all fired up. Like it wasn't okay. I was just like Jason Worth said he went over 2, no big deal. And I was like, yo, I says, you know what? Send him over a couple drinks. And they fucking refused the drink. So that obviously made me more irate. So I was like, yo, my fucking drinks are no good for you. And I was like, what's the fucking deal? So like as this happening, I don't remember who there was a fourth player that walked in, and they're like, well, you know, what's going on here? And we're like, oh, this dude's kind of banged up, and like, you know, we got a game tomorrow, and like he's offering us drinks, and we just said no, like politely, like, you know, we appreciate you being. They were cool. They were like, you guys are the best fans in the game. We get it. Like it wasn't contentious, but I was like, you know, at that point again, I was like, man, Kyle Kendrick. I was like, this dude trying to fucking make the team. And I was like, I don't remember who the last guy was, but I was like, you know what? I was like, let's go outside with a bat and a ball. And I says, I'm going to fucking strike you out on 3 pitches. He's like, Jesus Christ, this guy's fucking ripped. So eventually, who comes into the bar next but Johnny Law? So Johnny Law comes in because of the maitre d' called him because, like, you know, my boy's wearing like a fucking Grateful Dead shirt. I'm like being belligerent with like the Phillies, like, and they're like, "Hey, we got a problem here." And I was like, "No, we ain't got no problem." I was like, "I was just trying to buy these dudes a drink. They didn't want it. We're gonna leave. We're not driving. We're taking a cab. We're gonna be cool." And he's like, "All right, you guys, all right? You're gonna be able to leave on your own." We're like, "Yeah, it's good." So that was like my one. There's been other like minor interactions.
Fantastic.
That one is like that one's, you know, that one was special. You know, it kind of stick
That's awesome.
out. And
That's funny.
that was maybe the birth of the Drunk Phillies fans at that moment.
So
That's funny.
Carrie's favorite player is Jason Worth. She's gonna love him even more now when I tell her that story. If she's not listening.
Yo, he was huge. Like he was huge. Like 6'7", just fucking big, and he's
Jacked.
and I'm like, you know, you're like, you got beer muscles, and you're like, I'm not gonna like step back. And I'm like, oh, it's not important to you? What about this dude? He's trying to make the team. And Worth said, yo, he's sitting right here, man. And I was like, I know he is, and you just said it wasn't important.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Cool. Well, we'll roll into what's in the DPF fridge, and I've got 3 choices from Treehouse Brewery. So if you guys in DPF land aren't familiar, Treehouse Brewery is about 25 minutes from my house in Massachusetts. It's ranked number 1 in the world currently as a brewery, and they came out with a series of Christmas beers. So my first selection today of what's in the DPF beer fridge is called All I Want for Christmas is Juice. Awesome can. You guys will see this in the next couple too. But the thing that I love about this, it's an 8 point. Jesus, I'm so old, Chris. I can't see shit. It's 8.1, but it's a double IPA. This is not a Chris Nowazik special. This is a Mike special. Here's the other side of the can. But super juicy. Not a lot of bitter in that, but actually you might like that one, Chris. Now, as far as bitterness, the next one is Triple J Jingle Juice, it's called. This one here, great can. It's got Santa and the rain. Well, I don't know if that's a reindeer or a horse, but super cool can. This one here at 7.9, another double, but this one here is not a Chris special. A lot of pine in that selection. Last one here is Triple J Triple Y Jolly Juice. I love the Santa on the can. He's got his toy bag. He's delivering toys to. Actually, he's probably delivering beers to all the parents out in the land here. It's a double. It's 8.2. This one here, another not Chris Nowazik special. A lot of pine in this one, and I'll give you the last selection here. This is a local selection from right down the street. 7 minutes. Not that I know exactly how far it is and how many beers I can have to be okay driving back. But Perkiomen Valley Brewing, their Christmas ale. So the thing about Perkiomen Valley Brewing that I love, there's actually a couple of things. Number one is that they cater to families that have special needs children. They have a sensory room that the kids can play in while, you guys can hang out and have a pint. Two of their two sons have autism, and they do all of their canning and bottling. So they've incorporated them into their business, which is super cool.
Awesome.
The other thing that I love about them is they do some weird stuff, like unique stuff. So they go foraging. For instance, they went foraging for some of the ingredients in this beer. It was bark from hickory tree, if I remember right, that they then toasted and put into their Christmas ale, and gives it just like this nutty flavor. And so they're super local. They love if you bring food into the bar. They're cool with that. There's a great pizza place across the street, and so look it up, all you guys out there in DPFville. Perkiomen Valley Brewing. If you go, please message me. I will come and meet you, and we'll have a pint. That is what is in the DPF beer fridge. And with that, I'll kick it over to Chris. You got some comments and wrap up.
Yeah. So, Mike, the other thing is, like, I wanted you to say, like, what you loved about Perkiomen is, number 1A or 1B, it's close.
Oh, it's
right?
wicked close.
Yeah. You could walk to it possibly, or no?
So, no, I can walk to another one in town. That one is a 7-minute drive, but Publication, for all you guys out in DPFville, if you want to go to Publication, message me. I will walk there, and I'll meet you.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to do some comments. So my neighbor Jared wants to know who's the guy in the lower right. And John, we said that, and John, I think, had a razor mishap. And
yeah,
I did not know what Jared was talking about. Good job, Jared.
It's coming back.
I thought that, there was something else going on. I thought he was on the run. Something happened, and he wanted to change his appearance. It's possible still.
It's all about.
Yeah,
John.
It's all about.
I walked in on Christmas Eve. I walked in the garage Christmas Eve, and Jared's like, "Oh, I didn't recognize you." I'm like, "Yeah." I went to trim around my lip with the mustache, and I went, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, that's not gonna work. It's all gonna come off." But look, it's coming back. It's coming back.
John and I shared a special moment on Christmas Eve. We watched Christmas Story 1 and Christmas Story 2 together.
Yeah,
mostly alone. Just drinking beers. I was kind of worried about Lucy, and we'll have an update. But Lucy's doing great. But I was kind of worried about Lucy. John helped me drown my sorrows. But you're looking good, John.
Thank you.
So let's see. So Cindy, just going back to the nostalgia on the radio, sitting in our back patio, my dad as a kid listening to the Phillies, it was heaven. Chris, I think what you said earlier, there's something about the Phillies and the shore and the radio that even is more nostalgic and memorable to us as Philadelphians. But I love that. When you said that, I was like, yeah, just something about salt air and, being down there with family. I love that.
The crackle of AM radio.
Yeah. That's another thing. I do love that. Great point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Used to be on 1210 back in the day.
Yeah. Donna Amaro makes her blood boil. Yeah.
Yes.
Donna, I know that. Also, Donna hates when I show the DPF garage fridge and it doesn't have twisted tea lights in it because she knows my wife likes that. So she's one of my wife's biggest proponents. I appreciate that.
I need to find one person that goes, you know what, Amaro, he is the best. Let's find that person.
I can't do it.
I was surprised that there was a Wheeler. Yeah, they're on our page. It's yeah.
They're out there.
So Scott is one of the guys that came out for the beer exchange. So thanks for tuning in. Love T-Mac and Kruk, but anyone else in the booth can't do it. Odyssey app, is a blessing. I agree with that, and he can listen to the radio. So
Yeah.
even though it's not like over the airwaves, you can kind of still listen to it.
Is
Via
that
an app,
cowboy
which is
hat, Scott?
it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is.
Shout out to Scott.
Nice
Yep.
meeting you, Scott, at the exchange. It was a good time.
So, like, we were talking earlier, and I kind of opened the show, and I was like, wow, like bringing Chris in, and I had to beg Chris to come in. Like, I knew he was going to be great for it, but I had to convince Chris. Mike, I didn't need to convince. Mike was kind of like, he knew that, like, he wanted to do it. And then, like, John, I didn't need to convince, but I think I might have made the wrong move, honestly. And I'm like, I think I got the wrong negler because, like, his dad, his Papa John is like just out here killing it. Like he's just out here killing it. Like Phillies game down the shore, real beer, not Schmitz, and a stogie, a real pleasure. And then like I'm looking a little bit further down, and like he's like, you guys talk about all these Japanese guys over the plate here. How about Joe Isuzu? Yo, Papa John is fucking killing it, John. Like.
He's a funny dude,
genetics, man. Like you
Yo.
got this in you. Like
He's a funny
out
dude,
here
man.
Killing it.
Step it up, John.
Papa John's a funny dude, man. I can't say nothing. He gets it from my
John
pop,
is
my grandpa.
Yeah.
It gets handed down. You know what I mean?
He is out there, like, just absolutely doing a great job. And you are too, John. You know I'm only harassing you, so I appreciate you being able to do that. Scott wants Taryn to be back with the Flyers.
Taryn needs to be on every
I
team
guess so.
show.
I don't know. I think she's.
I want to see Taryn for the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies, the Eagles. Taryn's got to be everywhere.
You know who should? I got a nomination. I got a nomination for Taryn Hatcher's job, and she used to cover the Phillies for Comcast for a long time before she got screwed. Leslie Goodell was the Phillies for the Comcast. I know she's older, but
I like her. Chris, I think we interacted with her somehow.
We did.
Yeah. She was
on
Phillies baseball for Comcast.
Yeah.
Was she between
podcast
2012 and 2022? Because I don't know who that is. I've been out of the area for a long time.
Yeah. She was one of the original.
Yeah,
sportsmen.
She was the OG. Yeah. Like she was the Phillies girl. Like she was all Phillies.
Awesome, knowledgeable, like kind. Yeah, so, Chris, you're right. We were on a podcast with her, and she was awesome.
I mean, if you're talking about awesome and knowledgeable, it looks like Nancy's really awesome and knowledgeable with that comment there. Just saying.
Wait, she agreed with you.
She did. That's crazy.
So Nancy said, I'd take
no bias, right?
He made some bad decisions, but after what went through, I bet he'd be on his best behavior. Yeah. I'm willing to take that risk. You know what? Like, I think there needs to be like some type of clause in his contract where it's like, I don't know, like if you're going to meet girls, like don't bring whips or chains or like belts into it. Just don't do it.
It's the don't be a dumbass clause.
Yeah,
don't be dumbass. That's
shit.
Just like rule date night rule number 1. Just don't watch Pulp Fiction on the first date.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't be Bruce
Tommy
Willis.
O'Neill gave us a hello. I appreciate that.
Tommy.
Alex checked in. Only sighting she's had was Charlie Manuel being on her flight to Orlando. He was very nice, as you think he would be. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And you absolutely would. Freddie, got
thank
here
you
late.
very much.
Did y'all discuss John's lost opportunity to actually F the Mets with his dating app chick? Yes, John. Like, I was thinking that too. And like, I'm like, man, you could have just done mean things. But you didn't do it because you're above
that. You could have Trevor Bauer.
I'm loyal.
Trevor Bauer.
My standards are higher. She said, do you mind I'm a Mets fan? And I said, fuck the Mets, and blocked her. I'm loyal to the brand, baby. You know,
got it in, dropped an F the Mets, and rolled.
Yeah, well, that's what Fred is saying.
Oh,
I got a question now. I got a question for Fred Short though. He told me to get the robe, and he didn't comment on the robe episode. I had the robe and the shower cap. He was in
France. He was in France. Give him a break.
I'll do it next week. Next episode, it comes back. I promise, Fred Short. Got you, buddy.
Alex, Treehouse is awesome.
Treehouse, Alex, I'll go to Treehouse with you. We'll take a ride.
For each of you, so we'll have this as the last comments. Who was your first favorite Philly?
Ooh.
One person, quickly around the horn.
Mike Schmidt.
Got to. All right, I'll say Carlton then because it was the tie for me.
It would be I don't want to be cliche and say Schmidt. So I mean, it's obviously Schmidt, but I'm gonna go. I love the hell out of Juan Samuel.
There you go.
Yeah, it was Carlton for me as well. So it was who it was. You grew up in that time, and I said we weren't going to do one more, but I want to hear about John asking about homeless in Boston. Is this for this episode, or is this another episode? We already have a segment.
It's a bullshit myth story. I think
This
Pop,
sounds true.
I think Pop had a couple beers there. Real quick. We're on a Flyers and Boston trip up in Boston, right? And like me and the young heads, they're only a couple years younger than me. They all got the penthouse room, right? Like the whole floor up top. It's the old Buckmeister. It's not even there anymore. It's right down the street from Fenway. But long story short, I'm in a room with my pop and like two other dudes, double beds, whatever. And after the game,
did you and
I'm
Papa
hammered.
John sleep together?
No, I slept on the floor.
With the homeless girl, apparently.
Yo, my nephew's cracking the fuck up right now. That's him cracking up. But here's what happened. We were out. I got kicked out of the Japanese karaoke for singing "Everybody Wang Chung" downstairs. So we were outside, out front. They had the book. It was in the book. I said, "You put it in the book." So like 4 or 5 foot guys kicked me out. Like, you get the fuck out of here, whatever. We're outside. I'm with the young guys. We're like, yo, we got a free floor upstairs. Whatever. Everybody come up. We got plenty of beer. Go Flyers and all. So we wind up with like 2 Indian girls and this girl, she's a grunger. My dad says she's homeless. My dad didn't even see her, so I don't even know what he's talking about. She was one of them grungers, like in the 90s, like the alternative wear and shit.
So a Bruins fan's okay, but not a Mets fan? Is that what we're saying?
Oh no!
That's a great point.
No, she wasn't even. She was just passing by, and she took the opportunity to come up and drink for free.
She was out of
town. You made her take a shower though.
Your dad is.
She was out of town.
You in the comments, dude. It is
so
awesome.
He's merciless.
We're all upstairs. We're all upstairs with like 2 Indian college girls and like this girl that looks like she's a grunger. And the grunger hooks up with this other dude anyway. He's like, "Oh, you want to smell my finger?" Blah, blah. I'm like, "Nah, I'm cool, dude." Anyway, long story short, everybody's going to bed. All the dudes are going to bed, and I'm like, all right, well, she's from out of town. Like, she took one of them. You know how SEPTA's got the regional rail joints? She's like, I got to go home. She's like, well, the train stopped running. I got to go rent a room. I was like, I'll walk you down to the desk. Walk her down to the desk like a gentleman. I know you're watching, Pop. Like a gentleman, and walked her to her room before going to my room with 3 older dudes. So
that's not what Papa John is saying. Just saying.
And I get on the bus the next day, like to go home. Here, Joey fucked the homeless girl. I'm like, yo! And that's how the myth started.
John,
we joke about it all the time.
I'm going to tell you something, John. Do not do DNA and me. Do not do 22. Whatever it is, don't do it, because I think you're going to find like your 20-year-old grunger that's out there that is the Johnsters. Is the Johnsters.
Come find me, little man. I'll explain.
Dude, your dad is saying you are lying. Like, just saying.
He was asleep. Yo, he was asleep. I was drunk as hell after I got kicked out of the karaoke. Like, yo, my pop's asleep. He won't hear us, baby. Like,
oh boy.
All right, so that's Fred is already
Thanks, Mike.
confirmed. We're doing a DPF road trip to Boston in 24.
Find
will be heading
John's
it,
kid. We're finding
Yeah.
John's kid.
Hashtag John's Grunger Kid.
We were like kind of against the podcast going an hour, and like now people are drinking a little bit more. And we hear about John, messing around with Indian
yeah, this
girls
is
in
fun.
Boston. I'm like, this is like fucking went
This
off
is
the
great.
rails. Jesus Christ.
This is great. Thank you,
like-
Dad. See you
Dad
New
tried to
Year's.
step on us right over
Oh,
John.
my God.
Oh, dude.
Shit.
And I'm gonna leave it with like something nice and kind. Dawn, you wrote a letter to us in 2023 or a message that was like one of the most kind messages we've ever read. Basically saying, like how much you love the page and, that it makes you feel like close to the Phillies. And we just loved it. I appreciate that. I want to end it on a high note with thank you to Dawn. Again, thank you. Thank you to Mike. Thank you to John. Thank you to everyone who listens in and tunes in. Thank you to my wife, who kind of puts up with a lot of nonsense. 162 games plus more of it, plus the podcasts. I love you. I appreciate you. I can't promise to be better next year because I have a sickness, and it's baseball. I'll put you ahead of it at all times, but my God, it's sometimes I know it's tough to kind of deal with me. I want to say fuck Joe Carter. I want to say fuck Scott Rowland. And I want each of us to say, a fuck before we go off. Whoever you want, whatever you want. So guys, go ahead. Dugan, who you have?
Fuck the Los Angeles Dodgers for ruining baseball.
Yep. John?
Oh,
I was
Freddie
gonna.
took mine.
He took mine. Come back to me. Go, Mike. I'll go last.
I will say, God, that's hard. You took all of them. Fuck Alex Rodriguez.
Juicer.
And by the
All
way,
right, John.
I was being sarcastic earlier when I said I enjoyed that. I was hoping our viewers would catch that, but I see the comments. But I'm gonna say fuck Boston.
You already did. I heard your dad said.
Hey, yo, hey.
And Fred said it best. Renee for St. Hoods, and I'm gonna leave it as always. Fuck the Mets. Have a happy New Year, and we're gonna talk to you in 2 weeks, unless Dombrowski does something. But Mike wants to do shots with you. Maybe not tonight, but message us, and Mike will do a shot with you.
100%.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a
All
good
right, y'all.
night.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
See you guys. Happy New Year.